And welcome back. I know I said in the last video that I was going to do a non-commentary, but I thought building actually would give me a good chance just to talk through the channel in general and actually give the opportunity for a little bit more interaction in terms of the comments. So I'll just ask Max to stay still for a moment. So our radial menu, where was that? Circle one there we go. So as probably mentioned at various times through my playthrough, that I'm a big fan of the survival games. Excuse me. And there's quite a wide range of them. So if we think of things like Stranded the Deep, that seemed to be right up my street. So you just want something that's a little bit slower paced, where you can craft and not focus too much on the combat. What I found with that is that the kind of survival mechanics made it quite challenging, and there wasn't really an option to change it. So if you've got any recommendations for me of survival type games similar to this, so this is ARK Survival Ascended, then do please put those down in the comments, because I'd be very eager to go and check them out. Similarly, if you've got any questions about this game, again, just pop them in there. I've got, think, about 30 plus hours of gameplay in this particular game at the moment. So if you've not been following the previous episodes, they are on the channel and in number order, and we're picking up from a bit of a tragedy, really. So we set about building ourselves a lovely home, and we crafted a raft, and the idea was that we would set sail and go and explore the island, which unfortunately met with disaster fairly early on into the journey. So there was a big whale came along and sunk us to the bottom of the ocean. And so where we're at the moment is we have travelled a little bit further around the island, and we're going to set up home base number 2. So this particular area, as you've probably seen as I've been talking, is rife with palm trees, which is our core building material for thatch. We did manage to craft another raft over here, and what I'm going to do is, before we start building on this particular bit of land, I just spotted across the way there's an interesting ARK type environment. Looks like we might have piranhas in here actually. Or do we? No, that's our ghillie suit. So the raft, the idea was that we were going to stock it up and set sail. And unfortunately, because it got sunk to the bottom of the briny ocean, we lost everything that was in there. So what I'm going to do here... Oh, we can't go in there. Don't want to get stuck. Oh, yeah, we can. Okay. So this looks like it could be one of the actual arcs. So as we've gone round the island, there's been some explorer notes that gives us a little bit of backstory. As I probably mentioned, there's not kind of missions here. There's no kind of overarching story arc. It's very much a sandbox. But we are going to carry on our adventures. I wanted to see what was in the arc actually. Wonder if we can get up there. So I'm tempted to sail on actually and see if there's another place that we can call home. We gathered a fairly decent amount of building materials from that last place. So I am going to just carry on sailing a little bit. So in the previous videos we've covered off hopefully most of the basic game mechanics. And so the idea is that as we progress through, I kind of balance them out with videos where it's just a play along, where I just capture the footage. And then I'll also do some commentary videos where, as we progress through things, I can give a little bit more explanation. So we're going to head off down the coastline here. And I think what I'm going to do is head towards that green thing on the horizon, because that's going to be another ARK inventory. And they usually have some pretty decent stuff in there. And it looks like there's a little kind of isolated island here. So if that's got enough building materials, I think that's where we're going to set up our second base. Looks like we've got some kind of triceratops on there. As well as survival games, if there's any other games that you would recommend I check out, do please pop that in there as well. I've been also working through the PS Plus subscription games. And I've done a video actually about the PS Portal, because what that means is that I can then stream those games, so that rather than waiting to download them and taking up storage, I can basically just rifle through the catalogue and check out what's for me. So the most recent one that I checked out in that sense was called Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Very snappy title. I thought I'd check it out. It looked quite interesting on the video. It looked almost like a Grand Theft Auto with Yakuza, and wasn't really my type of game. So there's lots of cutscenes, kind of turn-based combat. I don't know whether it would have progressed into something different. I didn't really give it much of a chance, if I'm being completely honest. But that's where the subscription is good, because although you can go and get games and then you can potentially kind of chop them in for newer ones, you always kind of lose a bit of money as you're doing it. Oh, it looks like we've reached a dead end here. We'll turn around. So I do think that the premium bundle, I mean, even the essentials, gives you access to a pretty decent catalogue of games. And that allows you to kind of go through them. So a lot of the AAA titles I'd already played through. So we had the likes of God of War and Ragnarok, which are excellent games. I started to play Hogwarts Legacy, but again, I think with my kind of time for playthroughs, I'm not really in a position where I can sit there for kind of 8 hours at a time going through these massive worlds. Conscious that, as I say that, I started this video saying that I had 30 hours playtime on this particular one, and that's not all in big chunks of time. But what I try and do is, when I got a bit of time, is just jump on and do it a little bit where I'm capturing the gameplay. So I'm gonna, so that the video is not me entirely sailing around, what we're going to do is we're going to drop anchor here, and we're going to set ourselves up. I'm going to go around the other side of the island actually, and we're going to set up ourselves with a little home. so that we can set our next fast travel point. So on the raft itself, we can add storage. We can add a little torch, a fire to cook foods and whatnot. As you can see from the settings, mine actually depletes really slowly, so I don't have to worry too much about that. So I can just focus on enjoying the game. So I'm just going to head around the coastline here, so that once we've set up our next home, we can head on and explore more of the island. So the map that I've opened up to date when I've been showing you the mini map, that's from all playthroughs. And so every time I start a new game and delete the last save file, the parts of the island that you've already explored will still be on the mini map. The reason that I'm going along here is, as always, I just want to check that there's going to be enough building materials for where we set up. I really don't want to be around one of those albatross type birds because they're quite agile and difficult to get rid of. Okay, that looks like a shark in the water there. We don't want him attacking our boat. It's quite serene actually, just drifting around on the boat like this. Other games and content on the channel. So it started out being quite simulator heavy, and the reason for that, again, it goes back to what I was saying before, is that I tend to pick up and have about half an hour to play through, and those sorts of games fitted quite nicely to that pattern. And in terms of capturing the content, that sits quite well within dealing with it in episodes. I then started to pick up a few games just to give first impressions. So those were not kind of the new releases. There's going to be lots of YouTube content out there, and mine is a very small channel I hope to grow. And so what that related around was the premium or the plus games that you could stream. So I had very much looked forward to picking up Alan Wake 2, which I did, and that's just reminded me actually that I've not really played through it in any real time, so I'll probably pick that up again at some point. I was very excited to play Silent Hill 2, the remake, so much so that we went out and bought it. That is now free as well, and I've not completed that, but I'm familiar with it, having played the original. And then Resident Evil Village, again, played that when it came out, but because I picked up a PSVR 2 at Christmas, and there's VR mode, went and bought that as well, and that is now free on the store as well. So that's the only thing I would say about the Premium Plus subscription, is it is very light on PSVR 2 content. There's been mixed kind of feedback on the PSVR 2 in that it doesn't feel like something that Sony's particularly supporting. I think if you can pick one up for a decent price, which I did, then it's well worth it. So I do have the Quest 3. It's much, much more portable, and there's the better catalogue of games, but it is ultimately a mobile phone chipset, and so graphically and storage wise it's a bit restricted. The pass through is superior to the PSVR 2, and of course PSVR 2 does need to be tethered to a PS5, so it's quite a costly proposition if you're going out and buying it from scratch. PSVR 2 wise, clearly a massive improvement on the PSVR 1. because it was a number of years since that released, and I did have one of those, which was amazing. It's kind of the first proper steps into VR without having to buy a kind of hugely expensive PC. But it did have quite a significant kind of screen door effect because the pixels were not great, and the wires in the pass-through box made it quite kind of immersion breaking and restrictive. So the PSVR 2 just has one wire, and I was very lucky in that, as well as getting that for Christmas, I also got a steering wheel rig. So I already had the steering wheel and pedals, but got the steering wheel rig, and already had Gran Turismo, and that is just an incredible experience. With the steering wheel, the pedals, and the headset. Okay, we're not going to go too much further here because, interestingly, we seem to be getting into a snowy environment. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, it says that I'm freezing. So that's going to open up a completely new dynamic. Very interesting. So that means that we're going to then have to focus on crafting some warmer clothes. So I'm going to head back this way a little bit. And then, oddly for me, I think I've almost run out of things to say in this particular video. So what I'm going to do is, because it's the weekend and I've got some time to chill, I am going to make the next one a non-talky just base building video where it's just a play along, essentially. It'd have been nice to set up a house near that waterfall over there, but I don't think there's any chance to do that. Would like to thank those who have subscribed and also people that have added comments. And that seems like a good place to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.